he lost in the playoffs, but I think we kind of all looked at it and thought, what a move by Peyton, what a move by Denver. This was a successful year. Brady's 43 to a completely dysfunctional organization with no preseason due to a pandemic, and I look at it and I think, if he lost in the playoffs, it worked. It was successful. Your thoughts on Brady and the Bucs in the playoffs, and what if he does lose? How will you view it?
Yeah, I've struggled with the way this has been handled from the beginning. I feel like if you're going to bring a 43-year-old guy in who's not mobile, whose greatest strength is his mind, you do what he's most comfortable with from the beginning. You don't have, it's not that he can't learn, but you don't have him thinking if his greatest asset is his understanding of what's happening. And you hear them talk about getting Mike Evans 1,000 yards and how that's an important milestone going into the last game of the season. It doesn't make sense to me. Why is that important? It's a nice to have, but you said it. There's an element of disconnect that's going on, and I know they're talking about Super Bowl or bust, but making the playoffs and if they can get a win in the playoffs, I think that's success for the way this has all gone down.
So I know yesterday Greg Cosell was on and he talked about Lamar Jackson and he said, listen, he's got 44 touchdowns, no interceptions in the red zone. They're great on third down. He's a headache situationally. And, it's funny. I look at them in the playoffs last year and Lamar's an MVP and it felt like, Baltimore's got a roll. And now I look at him and I think, I wouldn't want to play Baltimore. I'm not sure what the expectations are. Your thoughts about them as a playoff team?
You don't want to play Baltimore. It's like playing those teams that run the wing T in college football, or they've got a scheme that nobody else is running. What Baltimore does is so unique, and it's so difficult to deal with. And the fact that they're going into the playoffs and they'll be on a roll. I think they'll be 4 straight or 5 straight wins if they go in. So they'll be red hot. Lamar doesn't have all the pressure that he had last year.
He doesn't.
The MVP, they had the number 1 seed. They're playing with house money. They do something that nobody else does, and they can eat up huge chunks of the clock, which means all those high-powered offenses and all those great quarterbacks, they're sitting watching as Baltimore just slowly grinds away at you. And it's a rough package to have to deal with if you're getting ready for them.
Yeah, and I love what you said. It's not the same. There is no pressure on Lamar this year. Last year it was the MVP. You got to win. And listen, we all react differently to pressure. This year he's better. He's played against more defenses. He's clearly improving, and there's no pressure. So the Packers lose David Bakhtiari, left tackle. He's a great pass-blocking left tackle. I think he grades number 1, has been for the last several years. Listen, the Ravens offense has been better without Ronnie Stanley, and we all know Ronnie Stanley's unbelievable, maybe the best left tackle in the AFC. David Bakhtiari, what would you do as a coach? Khalil Mack into town, here we are, no left tackle. Green Bay does develop offensive linemen pretty good. What's the gap, Bakhtiari to a left tackle? What do you do if you're Green Bay for the next month without a Hall of Fame first ballot left tackle?
Yeah, well, look, it's terrible to have an injury at this point in the season, especially at left tackle, and especially with a quarterback that's more of a pocket passer than not. But the nice thing about Aaron Rodgers is he can get out, and they can move the pocket if they want to. And what this game does allow them to do is to continue to try different types of protection packages. You bring the tight end over there, he can help the left tackle. You bring the back over there, he can chip on the pass rusher with the left tackle. You can slide the line over in that direction. There's a lot of things that you can do to help one guy. Now, it takes away some resources from other spots, but Aaron Rodgers is going to be conscious of it. Aaron Rodgers is experienced enough to know when he's going to be weak due to protection and the vulnerabilities. So I think if it had to happen to someone, it happened to him is probably the least impactful.
Finally, you're in Ohio and Cleveland. Big game for Baker this weekend. I do think they'll probably win. Overall, look at his season. What do you expect to the next couple of weeks going forward for Baker Mayfield?
Here's my frustration with the Browns, and I love Kevin Stefanski, but I don't know how you throw the ball 53 times when you've got no receivers and you've got two running backs that are arguably the best tandem in the league. That doesn't make any sense. And I think the Browns' best chance to win, not just this week, but also win the playoffs, is if it's the Cleveland Browns featuring Baker Mayfield, not starring Baker Mayfield. Rely on the offensive line, rely on the running backs, and then Baker plays that much better. Take the pressure off of him. Do not make him the focal point of this offense. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I mean, if you look at the numbers,
it doesn't work.
It just simply doesn't work. All right, Eric, you have yourself a great holiday. Happy New Year to you and your family. And it's great seeing you again.
Good to see you too, Colin. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, the Lamar Jackson thing is really interesting. He's a situational quarterback nightmare. Greg Cosell was on yesterday talking about, and I just asked him straight out, like, you look at film. I don't look at film like you do. You look at film. When you look at film of Lamar Jackson, especially late in the year this year, what Greg Cosell does the film say?
One area in which they're so good, Colin, is the red zone. And when you score touchdowns in the red zone, I was researching for a piece I did for my matchup show this week on Lamar in the red zone. The last 2 seasons, he has 44 touchdown passes and no interceptions in the red zone. And they are really, really good with pass game concepts in the red zone.
And I know it. Everybody says, Colin, he is 0-2 in the playoffs.